welcome to Ever Onward. Today we are here with two of my favorite people, Elder Clawson and Sister Clawson. They are service missionary leaders in our area, and we're really excited to talk to them today about service missionaries. So thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
We're happy
having
to be here.
us.
Do you want to take a minute and just introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners?
Go for it, Lisa.
So we are the Clawsons. We are actually from Paradise, just the south end of the valley, but we are called as service mission leaders for the Ogden, Utah mission. So we take up the south end of the valley. We have 24 missionaries in our zone. There's about 100 and I believe 170 service missionaries just in the Ogden, Utah mission. And we're growing every day,
Really
just
fast.
about. So anyways, we've been in this calling since January. January 1st was the first official day that the church integrated service missions into proselyting missions. Before that, the Ogden, Utah mission had a 6-month where we were kind of the pilot program, one of the pilot programs for that. So the Ogden, Utah mission has had service missionaries integrated for a little over a year. The rest of the church is just about 8 months. So that's what we do. We help the missionaries, and we love it. So
And service mission leaders like us in the Ogden mission, I think, how many is this? There's 12 couples?
Yep.
12 couples, and the Layton mission, like every mission's different. It just depends on the number of service missionaries that they have in their mission. Some of them only have one, some of them have up to 15. Yeah, 15 leaders. So, and in our mission right now, the Ogden, Utah mission, we have almost an equal number of proselyting missionaries and service missionaries. That's how many we have. So it's huge. We're the largest mission as number of missionaries in all the missions.
all the church.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Tell me more about what you mean by integration and how it was before and how it is now.
okay, so I believe that service missions have been around for probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, or maybe even a little longer.
Anyways, but before January of this year, if you were called as a service missionary, you were kind of on your own. Your mission president was considered, your stake president was considered your mission president. He was the one that you dealt with, and you were more alone. You didn't have other missionaries that were around very often. What they've done is they've integrated it. So now service missionaries, actually, they go through the whole process of filling out their mission papers through the mission portal and get the call where they're called to serve in the Ogden, Utah mission.
It's an email just like any other mission call.
Yeah.
So all mission calls now, whether proselyting or service, get that email Tuesday, and it says right there.
And so the service ones are, they're living at home. And they're focused on service. But I will say, they do go to service assignments every day versus proselyting every day. But at the same time, our focus and our end goal is the same. And it's convert baptisms and sharing the gospel with others. We just do it a little bit of a different route.
Yeah. I'm going to jump back to the integration part too. So the integration part before, we had the chance to serve in a YSA stake, and I was a stake president, and we had a handful of service missionaries that were with us, and a lot of them, they were just initially called to be a service missionary. So now the way that with the integration is whenever there's a missionary that's proselyting that has any medical issue, like they break a leg or hurt their knee or they have mental health problems in any way, we meet with the president on the phone and their family, and we just do a big Zoom call with them, and we try to get them to just transfer to us either for a while until they heal up and can go back out, or just with us to stay. So that wasn't part of the service mission before. It was just missionaries were called from here to serve. And we just missed out on a lot of good youth that were mission capable and dying to serve, but just it didn't work out for them. So they came home, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And I think that we've really struggled in our church by losing a lot of those really good, strong kids, because they kind of lose their steam. They're brokenhearted. It's just, they're really down. And this is so fun because we get to get them busy right at the get-go. We'll probably talk more about that later, but that's part of the whole integration, the difference of being able to receive transfer missionaries from a proselyting mission instead of all of them just starting as a service missionary. So now service missionaries, probably, I would say it's only 40% of them start as a service missionary, and the rest of them that we have are transferred from a proselyting mission. So they know Preach My Gospel. They've been through the MTC. They're like our stalwart. They want to be a missionary so bad. They are good. They're obedient. They are 100% all in.
Yeah.
And for them to have that desire to keep serving, even though it is at home and it's with everyone they know, we're able to see the whys behind it now, the wisdom behind doing it this way, and the impact that they can have on friends, family, neighbors, people that they know and that they love, that they're helping come back to church or join the church. It's pretty awesome. So does that answer that integration part?
Yeah.
Kind of good enough? Okay.
No, that was beautiful. And I love that the church is doing that. I think that's a beautiful way to transition. And I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, but one of my sons came home from Denmark, and he transferred into the Ogden, Utah mission as a service mission. And I learned so much about service missionaries that got me so excited. I just wanted to share that with our listeners. And so I'm really thankful you guys are here today. So maybe tell me a little bit about what kind of assignments there are. I know a lot of times people think it's like the DI and that's it, but it's so much bigger than that.
Or church-run organizations. So before, when I was the stake president and we had that handful, 6 missionaries that were there, and I would meet with them, and that was the other hard part, is you only met with them once every quarter. And you're like, hey, how you doing? Are you okay? They're all alone. They didn't ever have district meetings. They didn't ever group together. They would just go to their assignments all alone. So we're able to, let's see, where were you going with that?
It's the services.
The service assignments.
Service assignment.
So yes, and then I'm going to have Lisa talk. She's the service assignment queen. She knows all about them. But
Awesome.
But what I was getting to there is those church-run organizations. It was the Cannery in Ogden, the Bishop's Storehouse here in Logan, the DI. Sometimes church camps would let them come up, but not very often. So it was just those places that they were able to serve. And then we started to get a few more like community organizations, but now it's like the majority community. And I'll let Lisa share with you all the different ones they have to choose from.
There's lots of different options. Any nonprofit that you can think of, we've got missionaries doing them. Some of the favorite places, they all do serve an ordinance assignment at the temple. That's, when we get a new missionary, everybody goes around and says their favorite assignment. And we have to have a caveat that, yes, we do know that the temple's everybody's favorite assignment. So think of your second
the
favorite.
temple.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they all do that. And then we build their schedule around their temple assignment usually. So they're all doing a temple assignment. We've got Common Ground where we have missionaries we've got one missionary in the wintertime. He's at Beaver Mountain helping Common Ground patrons ski every Friday. We've got the neighborhood nonprofit that builds homes in the valley. That we've got a couple missionaries that will go on Saturdays and work all day for that, helping those families build their homes. There's a couple different equine therapy places that the missionaries serve at. They work at Cinnamon Creek. They work at
the
Maple
church
Rise,
camps.
the church camps. They love those. American West Heritage Center, the Meals on Wheels, the Cache Community Food Pantry, Cache County School District.
And these are all like service organizations that are mostly community in where we live in Cache Valley in the Ogden, Utah mission. And this is just for our youth or our missionaries that are up here.
Yeah. So they, and when they come home, we look for their likes, their talents, the things they're interested in. We've got missionaries that come home speaking a different language, and they'll help with ESL kids in Cache County School District, being tutors for them or sitting with them through classes. So we try to figure out the things they like to do and focus them into those different talents and organizations. But what we do is those first couple of weeks, they try out a lot. They can go and try out the different things and then decide which ones are best, a good fit for them, and then run with it that way.
And running with it might be for 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months. They can choose how long they want to be there. So when we meet with them quarterly or every 6 weeks, we have an interview with them. And they do that with us as service mission leaders because the mission president has over 400 missionaries that he needs to interview. So they do get an interview once with the mission president when they start and once when they're exiting. And then the mission president counselors are every 6 months. They have an interview with them. But as Lisa and I are meeting with them every 6 weeks, we'll ask them about their assignments and make adjustments however they need. And they are free to change and do whatever. One thing I was going to point out is some of these service organizations accept donations from all non-denominational churches or groups that do not want to be affiliated with our church. So with some of them, they'll ask us, "Oh, can you not wear your missionary tag for this one because we want to continue to look like we're receiving help from everyone, not just the LDS church."
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so there's a couple of them that our missionaries will go to where they do have to take off their tag, but they're welcome to talk to them about it if they have questions and still serve wholeheartedly in those organizations.
That's so wonderful. Another guest we had on a podcast was the rapping missionary.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Elder Castleton.
Elder Castleton, yeah, and his story is cool. You know, he has this talent with music, and like you said, kind of understanding what their likes and dislikes are and their natural talents, and then finding a way. You know, he's writing music, and he has a full following on Instagram, and he's spreading the gospel through unconventional way, you might say.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I love about service missions is that it's really honing into their strengths and letting them fly.
Yeah.
With them.
Definitely. Yeah.
He's the last person in the world I thought would ever rap, too.
Right.
Because he is just the most mild, gentle, kind soul, and
He's
all of a sudden
cute.
he's like rapping, and he does such a good job with that.
Yeah. We love him.
Yeah.
He's great. Okay. So some advice. What are some of the keys, in your opinion, to finding success and fulfillment as a service missionary?
I've got some
Strong
suggestions
opinions on
this
that.
one. Yeah. So in a service mission, their daily schedule is a little bit different than a proselyting. They actually have the same schedule with, study, exercise, go to bed, wake up, all of those different things.
The same things that they need to accomplish each day.
Yeah, but as a service missionary, sometimes their temple assignments at 6 a.m. Sometimes they're doing temple laundry till 9:30 p.m. So their hours are sometimes a little unconventional. So they have to learn how to schedule and plan. And I believe it's chapter 8 in Preach My Gospel where it talks about that. And we really try to focus on that because if they don't have a schedule and they don't have a plan, then when something falls through, they kind of loiter. They
or flounder. Yep.
around.
And I think it makes they lose their steam when they're not busy. But that's the same with the proselyting mission. When you go out day after day and you just are not finding anyone that's wanting to listen to you, it's hard. You lose your steam. The difference with this is we have the opportunity to keep them busy, so we do our best, but with the planning. And it's just like proselyting. You want to have a plan B, a plan C, and just so on. So if one falls through, you know exactly what you're doing next. And Lisa's awesome at
It's
that.
just, I think that's the biggest key is having that plan and sticking with your schedule. And because, self-motivation, it's the desire to be doing the whole time. We've seen that the missionaries that have the best experience are the ones that stay busy. Yeah. They keep busy and they don't have that downtime to think about other things. They're just lost in the service, and that's probably the best option.
And I'm going to add one thing to that. So when we have transfer missionaries, they tend to be more all in. the service missionaries that are just starting, their abilities vary very much because they could have Down syndrome, they could have severe autism. So some of those are called for maybe only 6 months. Just what works with them and their abilities. Some of them just want to go to the DI every day. Just give me a task, let me do it. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to focus. That's perfect. We'll totally work with that for them. The missionaries that come home that are used to having their schedule, with the proselyting mission, they come home, and when they come home and transfer to a service mission, it's hard. Their family's disappointed. They might be a little disappointed. They're just a little down in their spirit. But if we just give them, maybe a couple weeks, but if we can get them all in, 100% in, and just be like, okay, I'm into this. We have seen missionaries that they will not even take a P day because they are so busy. Yeah. And they're like, they're like, it's not like the proselyting mission. Sunday, I'm free. I get to be with my family all day Sunday, which is true. So they say, that's good enough for me. But they're every day of the week, they are going morning till night doing their service assignments. And those seem to be the happy ones. They're thrilled with it. They are feeling that success. They're feeling the joy of just serving others. And then we have some that kind of tiptoe around it, and they'll go for a couple hours here, then have 5 hours downtime at home, and just too much downtime. And we can see that it's harder for them. They tend to sleep in a little bit, maybe, or just they're not in it as much. They're not enjoying it as much. And we found that the ones that are all in and really working hard and trying to find assignments and willing to plan and do that, they are happier, and they're like feeling that success. And that's what our goal is as service mission leaders, is when we meet with them, we want to be their encourager, cheerleader, never get down on them for sleeping in or like not being super busy, because some of them literally don't have the ability, the health to be going for 10 hours a day. Yeah. If they do 4 hours a day, we're like thrilled with that. So as a service mission leader, you got to be a cheerleader too. And I think it's the same with the mission president. Their number one goal is to lift their spirits, to make them feel like they're awesome, to make them feel like they can do it, and what they're doing counts, and they're awesome, and they're doing it, and they're doing a good job, and they're coming closer to Christ and becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ. That's our main goal.
That's awesome. I love the way you put that, and meeting them where they're at, like Christ did when he was on earth, right? Mm-hmm. I love that. So I guess the last question that I'll ask you is kind of along those lines of, we know what missionaries themselves can do to help their mission be successful and to relieve that maybe downheartedness that they have. But on the other side, one thing we love to do at the Missionary Wellness Center is smash the stigma, and to kind of shed light that there are all different kinds of missions and that they're all valid and they're all important. So from the other side, as parents, as church leaders, as people who want to support these awesome youth, what can we do to smash the stigma and help bring value to them?
So I think right now, the stigma of a service mission, what a service mission used to be, is the hardest thing that we're trying to combat right now. And I will say that the other hard part is parents' perception of a service mission, because we have missionaries that are considering transferring home because of some health issue or whatever. And we've actually had parents say, my child will not be a service missionary, because in their minds, that meant something was wrong, something was broken. That's not my kid. And that's probably the biggest thing that we are trying to overcome, is that preconceived notion of what this service mission is, because it's not that anymore. It's just such a great opportunity. I will say, parents, all we ask for parents with a service missionary is to just have a home conducive to having a missionary in it at all times. It's not like a home MTC where your child needs to have a companion with them at all times. They don't. You can still live your lives the way you do, even without a missionary, but yet make sure that the music you're doing or the movies you're watching, the television you're watching, the conversations are just missionary appropriate. And having this missionary home should be a good experience for the whole family. I have had a few parents where I've had to just kind of, and this is my experience too. I've had 4 kids that have been missionaries, and in my mind, they're amazing missionaries that obey the rules. They wake up every morning ready to go, and they're doing everything they're supposed to. But guess what? I'm not living with them, and I'm not seeing the hard times, and I'm not seeing the good times. I'm seeing the highlights of their mission. As a service missionary who's home with their parents are seeing it all. And in their minds, if they're not seeing the good times all the time, sometimes they think it's not going well. Yeah. And I have to remind them that, you're seeing everything, and you don't realize that there are the ups and downs. And really, as a parent, we don't want you to feel like you have to be the babysitter. We want you to feel like this is going to be a good experience for our family. We're going to have the home available for this missionary, and we're going to cheer him on. And hopefully that missionary can feel that. That's the one thing that's taken care of, and then they can go on and succeed in the mission. So
when that missionary does have a bad day and he sleeps in, or his siblings want to play video games and he ends up playing video games for a few hours, that's okay. It's okay. We're okay with that. Did he have fun? Good. But maybe he was tired. He needed some rest, but that's what we want parents to see is you're seeing every moment. You don't see that when they're out on a mission. And that's how it is on mission, like in a proselyting mission when they're away from home. They're probably doing many other crazy things that we wouldn't approve of. They're like just kids, but that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. It's a great growth opportunity for them. And we want them to relax and give them that space that they can grow and they can be themselves and they can feel that growth. Our whole goal in service missionaries is to help them become a lifelong disciple of Jesus Christ. So we study Preach My Gospel. We want them to create holy habits and good routines, righteous routines. So the habits that they want to create are daily scripture study, daily prayer, many times a day. You think about when I was a missionary, we prayed 100 times a day. We're praying over everything. And you want to create those habits where they are turning to Heavenly Father for everything that they need, and then reading their scriptures. And then the routines are just, I've got to figure out my schedule to figure out how to make this work. Because on a proselyting mission, you're told exactly what time you need to wake up, what time you need to study, what time you do companionship study, when you should exercise. You're told per rule when all those things should happen. Where when they come home, their hardest transition for a proselyting missionary to come home is like, oh my gosh, I have to go to school now. I have to figure out a job, and then I've got to fit in dating, and I'm supposed to get married. How am I going to do this? And how am I supposed to read my scriptures too? And that's the hard part, where I think these service missionaries, we have the chance to teach them those skills of planning. And yes, you have to modify when you read your scriptures every day, because your schedule changes with work, with assignments that you have. You can't do it every day at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing I've loved to appreciate so much, learning more about and living kind of the service mission life, is that the spirit of the law is very strong, but in a really good way. You get to see what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and you insert the spirit of the law instead of maybe the letter of the law that was so much on the proselyting mission. And different people need different things, and sometimes that's where they bloom the most. And I love that we're creating that space for that. So there's a lot more to unpack about service missions, so we're going to make this a 2-part series. So if you loved what you heard today, tune in next week, because we have more to talk about, and we will see you next week.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. As a nonprofit organization, we are able to provide this information for free through donations and generous support to our cause. So if you would like to learn more or would like to get involved, please visit our website, missionarywellnesscenter.org. We'll catch you next week.